They're a couple of farm kids.
How many do we have?
9 member board or 7?
We are missing Whitney, Clint, and Chris Hansen.
Okay. Well, we got a quorum then, so we can start up.
Alright, call this meeting to order. 7:04.
It's actually just 7 o'clock.
Okay, 7 o'clock.
Do you need a motion? No?
Any additions, changes, or approval of the agenda?
Just one thing I noticed just now, I have on the agenda minutes the June 27th meeting, that should be the October 3rd meeting. Thank you. Well, Steve has anything on it?
So we need
Sure. Motion to approve.
motion.
Correct.
Okay. I motion to change the minutes from June 27th to October 3rd, 2021.
I'll second.
Or,
Could we change your motion to, move to approve the agenda as amended?
okay,
With
sorry.
changes.
With the changes as amended.
Sorry.
No problem.
I motion to approve the changes as amended.
On favor? Or second, did we get a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, minutes approved. Or, agenda approved. And now on to the minutes of October 3rd. If there's no changes, if I can get a motion to approve.
I motion to approve the minutes from October 3rd.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes approved for October 3rd. And now on to Parks and Rec manager report.
There should be a printout there. Soccer, the fall soccer season ended October 16th. I think it went really well. The fields were good and everything down there. Skip did a good job of getting all those set up. He put in stakes, so now it'll even be easier for the next time and everything will go good there. The spring one, the registration will start in January basically. So, and again, we'll see how many we get if we could do a 6U, 8U kind of division or not.
Did we do a spring one this year?
We did.
We did.
Also, we didn't have to cancel a Saturday.
Right.
That's right.
That last one was a little chilly, but I was like, going for it.
Has that ever happened?
I have not since
Yeah.
I've been in it for 8 years. And
I was gonna say,
That's pretty impressive.
I know that last morning was a little cold, but I was like,
you guys are good.
we're good.
It's funny, our games up in Sioux Falls, our first 2 were canceled, so we were still playing as of last week, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's late.
Those were
But no, otherwise soccer I think went good there. And then I guess baseball and softball, the registration will start in January. It's almost kind of tweaked and done and finished or whatever there. I guess the baseball tryout date, we just need to get that date ironed out. So I looked into all the indoor facilities. It's about $100 an hour. And we would need roughly, 5 to 6 hours, probably 6 for sure. And then I just broke it down there for a kid on the tournament team. We roughly spend like $78 more on those kids versus our, just rec kid. And I don't know if that's, I don't know how to feel about that, I guess, is my thoughts. Just FYI, maybe at this point in time. But, as far as looking into a facility, I don't know, I don't think we can spend $600-700 on something like that. I don't know if that's a great use of our funds, I guess I would say. I thought last year worked okay. I mean, obviously there's some tweaking to do there and things, but for the most part, I think it worked really good. The 10U is definitely the hardest one just because there's so many kids. So I really want to really push 2 teams there this year for sure. Because I know there's going to be even more than last year that Tryout. So that's my goal for that 10U for sure, is to push pretty hard for 2 teams there. So any questions on that, I guess?
So the reason we looked into this indoor facility was to do tryouts earlier than they did last year, right?
Correct.
Like in the winter.
Correct.
What was, I refresh my mind, like what was the
Some of the
goal to?
coaches wanted to start tournaments like in April.
And last year we did it the first Sunday in May is tryouts. So they,
But we rented a facility, right?
No, we did. We had evaluators coming.
Yeah, we had,
Yeah,
Well,
it
we
is
were
now,
talking of moving it to like February, which then we would for sure,
Right.
have to go in.
if it was this weekend, we could have.
No, I agree. But no, by the time I don't know.
And how many tournaments are in April? One?
That's
You
my
know, I
thoughts.
mean,
It's maybe
The
2 or 3.
possibility of that getting canceled.
And and that's all weather dependent too. So I mean, unless you're going way south to a tournament or something.
My 2 winters here so far, both Aprils have been snow,
Right, for sure.
until mid-April. It's just morning track.
I thought the tryouts were really well last year when I stopped by and checked it out. It was really professional, really. I mean, for a rec tournament team tryout, I was pretty
Right.
impressed.
So I guess then it would just be the date, and I know we were talking, to try and get it into the beginning of April. I mean, I'm fine with trying one of those days. Pray the weather works out.
Can we have a backup date?
Right, that's what I.
that's what I
And
was
that's
thinking.
If we're gonna be outdoors, at least we say, okay, it's April,
Whatever.
first weekend of April.
Right.
And third weekend of April, or
Right.
something like that.
And that's what I would say we should.
Or May, whatever.
Then you get your shot at least if the weather's not like, it's not like hindsight, we're like, wow, if it was like 65 degrees,
Right.
April, we could have done it.
Right.
I think as long as we put the 2 dates out there now,
Yeah.
And that's what I would like to get them out there that way. Everybody knows, and it's not well, you didn't tell us until. So yeah, I'm open to suggestions, I guess, basically. So April.
with the evaluators, do we need to, should we just pick some days and then you check?
And that's what I'm gonna call and just see who can make it basically. If there's some coast to coast guys, and I emailed him and he said they would do something like that.
So Easter's the 17th.
Correct. So that's, if we want to go like April 3rd and then April 24th if
Yeah.
the weather,
That's
or
fine.
That would probably be alright.
so I'll shoot for that April 2nd or 3rd, and then
Oh yeah, sorry, I was looking at Sundays.
23rd, 24th. And I'm assuming the Sundays will work better for the evaluators, but I don't know that for sure, I guess. And I will get a hold of those and get them lined up, and once I got that, I will put it out there as quickly as possible. So.
Then they'll even know registration time, so.
Right, that's my goal for sure. So
Yeah, that
Awesome.
sounds good.
good. And then the batting cage, I basically just have to order it. Do we need to approve like that? No, good. Okay. And then
So is it a new so we'll have an additional batting cage or just replace?
this is the screen,
Just the
like
screen,
for the
okay.
pitch, so it'll work better for softball and baseball, and it's just a little more substantial. and
But we
efficient.
still just have the wall.
Correct, right,
Yeah.
yes. And that's what my next thing
How
is,
much is it going to cost?
like a whole batting cage. I don't know.
The second one.
That's what I was. Look at my notes. The next thing. Remodel of batting.
I'm looking at the budget to see how much
Oh,
this thing.
well, so I don't know if anyone's been to Canton, Canton, right by their fields, it's a cement, kind of turfed area. They have 2 pitching lanes. Honestly, it's very nice. I think we have room kind of where it is now if we would look into something like, and even if you did it an extra long one where there was pitch, you could go one direction and have a net in the middle or something like that.
It'd be nice to have another one.
That's what
Yeah,
gets close.
I think that's a lot.
Because I know they use it a ton. Everybody uses it a ton. The other thing with softball being sanctioned, now it is, I don't know if we could poke them to say like, hey, do you want to pay a third of that or something, something like that. And then, kind of like the tennis courts, something like that, if they would be willing to do some, help us out there. And even amateur baseball, if everybody pools some money, I don't think it has to be the most amazing thing in the world, but I do think it's one place that we are definitely, they use it a ton, why not make it a little bit better?
Yes.
Make it longevity last.
Correct, right, for sure.
While we're on batting cages, bullpens, that kind of stuff, I just wanted to let everybody know about the storm damage. Obviously, the worst of it was in the parks. So we've been trying to get some quotes on getting that done in the spring. The fence on Main should be fixed this fall, hopefully. But there's a lot of shingles missing, there's a lot of damage to other buildings, and there's a lot to do there. So planning on a lot of work happening in the park in the spring to get a lot of that stuff done.
So I guess that would be, and I can call around and collect some bids and things like that, and some quotes for whatever, some concrete and that type of thing and stuff. So I will look into that. The bullpen areas by the fields was one thing that was addressed, and I talked to Skip about that, and he said, once the weather starts warming and getting nicer, he'll kind of try to make them a little better and make the screens better around there and everything, just because it's, not too good. Baseball uniforms, that was brought up last time. They would cost roughly $20 to $25 a jersey. So, and that would be a pretty nice jersey. Youth jersey. So.
And we decided we were starting at which age group?
Well, that's what we did not decide.
Okay.
So we kind of wanted a price there. So, as far as kids, there's probably about 200 in that 14 to whatever it'd be 10U. There's roughly about 2. So you're looking at right.
Can we get the same style and just keep the ones that are still good?
Though that style's so old. Those are,
Oh, is it?
they said they don't do it.
You said we had talked if you do a blanket purchase or if you just purchase a couple of age groups.
And he said that doesn't matter. So he said if you order 1,000 or 1, it's going to be about 25. Right?
So what groups are in? That's what we maybe should talk about is
The younger, I would say the younger jerseys are the worst. By far. That 14U age, I would say, is okay, just because those sizes are a little bit
But
bigger.
there's such a smaller number of
Correct.
14U. If we're
And
gonna
that's-
give the 10, I would think the 10, 12Us were
Is gonna be the,
most
yep,
lower.
exactly.
And so if we're gonna do that, the 14U we might as well just.
And that's kind of, you're throwing on probably another 20 jerseys.
Yeah, if you were telling me that it was just the 14U, I would maybe think differently. Like, okay,
Right.
let's just do that.
Right.
But if we're gonna be getting 10 or 12U, I would think we.
when it comes to funds like this, Nate, obviously batting cages and that, when they go down to baseball uniforms, do you lay out, those come out of obviously the Parks and Rec?
Yeah, don't come out of the park,
There's a base-
don't come out of the Fund 201, which it's called baseball fund, but it's really a recreation fund is what we call it. So that's where all the revenue for registrations comes in and all the expenses for the programs goes out, including uniforms. You do have a fund balance that you can use as well.
Where, is that budget line item for that level resets every January? How does that work?
January, yeah.
So I guess my question is where are we sitting as of right now, being that it's leading into January?
I'm pulling that up, so.
one thing to look at if we wanna make
If
a
we wanna do half,
recommendation.
now half.
Yeah, if we have to recommend that to the council to spend funds out of there, or if, how does that work?
So for a fund balance, which is, think of it as your reserve fund, you're at about $34,000 right now. And for the year in that fund, you've brought in 49,000, spent 39,000 through October. And I mean, our expenses outside of, and November and December is basically gonna be Steve. Those are our main expenses at this point in the year.
So there's enough money there.
How much are uniforms?
$25 a piece, so I mean, if you're.
How many were you ordering?
Well,
That's what
we'd
we're
have to see
talking about.
registration, so even if, say 200, you're like $5 grand. And I would say 200 is probably a heavy estimate.
I think you'd probably be okay.
Cause we would.
How many years are these
Fund
things?
balance.
How often do we get new uniforms?
These ones, my understanding, have been, I wanna say 8-ish years.
Okay, I think it's worth.
I was trying, Tiffany Butler, one of the cooks, she said her, I'm trying to think. I don't know, he's a 6th grader now, and he had them for sure when he was, 9, so there's 9 to 12, that's 3 years, and she swears
this will
that
cover-
her older son, Tristan, who's a sophomore, had the same ones.
So this will cover jerseys from what ages, if we get 200 of them?
That would be 10
Program.
years, right, pretty much all baseball, except for T-ball, and they get it
And 8
T-shirt.
years softball, right?
8, well, yeah, 8, correct. And then,
8.
but softball got new ones last year.
Right.
Oh, so
So
softball's good to go.
Softball should be good, and I feel, if we can get on a 2-3 year cycle type thing like that, I think that would be it.
So if we get these, if you spend $5,000, the jerseys are covered for all baseball.
Correct. And again, that's probably,
Then you have 1-year-old softball this year, you have brand new baseball, so then if they last
2-3 years,
Yeah.
right, and that's kind of,
pushing it,
Hopefully
3 or 4,
it
at least they're separated.
right.
I think if we can do it, we do it.
Okay. And I'll bring up,
Let's visit this weekend.
okay,
I just wanna make sure I'm looking at this right now, I'll look at last year's.
That
November,
was the main
December.
thing, is like where we sit and have funds, can we
Funds,
afford it?
right, right.
How much
We
money-
can afford it. I
How
mean,
much comes in and out every
even
year?
if it comes out of fund balance, if it doesn't bring you that much, but you wanna, that fund balance, that reserve, so to speak, you wanna be able to use that on bigger items. And
Right. See what we have. coming up.
uniforms to me are an operational item, so.
For sure.
If we
It's
can,
not a
I can
one-time
take it out of
purchase.
this year's budget, if not, let's look at next
Okay.
year, see if we have room somewhere.
no, and I'll talk with Nathan throughout this week and make sure the funds are there, and then I'll have 3 or 4 examples for people to choose next time or whatever. And he said the turnovers is usually not, obviously we get them plenty of times, so. Anything else on uniforms? Alright, the 14U baseball. So, I talked with Mr. Ike and things. Basically, he would like to stay in the same leagues, stay in the same everything, just have that tournament team be on a team the whole time. Now, the reasoning is because at that age, at 14U, you have to play like a region to get into the state tournament and things. It's just not given, not an automatic thing like that. So, and then with the bigger field, there's, obviously some position changes, if you're playing third base for the whole year and then all of a sudden you're on the tournament team and now you're at second base or something, that's a pretty big change. So that was his, that's the main reasoning is that. I don't know what to say about it, to be honest with you. So they would still have, however many rec teams, just one would be those kids that tried out and made that tournament team. So,
Then they'd be like an A team and a B team, pretty much.
kind of, yeah, correct. And
They
this
would
year
never
they're,
play each other.
correct,
Like
they never would play each
that
other,
always-
right, yep. It's just, you get into that, if we're a rec that really a rec philosophy? I don't believe so.
That's where I would like to have with that.
But I will say that if we might lose a lot of those kids, they'll just go and place, USA Baseball or SELA or something like that.
I think you have to start looking at age 14 here. You're starting to be competitive, and if we're not competitive,
Right.
I think it's a disservice to our baseball program if you don't, but I totally know what you mean from
Right,
like.
yeah. I'm very competitive. Trust me.
I know what you mean, but you want to be fair to everybody and
Right,
stuff, and I totally agree, but I think what Steve said is right. You have to give those kids
They've got to
that
see some success.
opportunity
Right.
to grow.
I see both sides of it. I think that I don't know, if I was a parent of those kids that were that age, and I was like, okay, in order to play, and what Ike is saying going on is it's taking more time away having to play both leagues. I would think that, okay, what he wants them to do, I don't think is a rec program item, right? I support him 100%. I would probably then take, and it's a lot of work, but you almost have to see that and be like, all right, so if he wants to give our kids a shot at that, then he's got to create a program and join like another league like other towns do and make them more competitive. Now the rec program loses those kids, but you know what I mean? They're still on their own team, so that's kind of how I see it.
So here's the problem with that though, is I believe in the past it's been almost impossible to get field time unless you're part of the rec. Is that true? No?
See, and
That's
I talked.
The bigger field is definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that wouldn't,
Correct.
it's not like they couldn't get practice.
No.
Summer,
I mean, I've
nights, or-
heard similar opinions in the past, and once last summer, I just, every day I walked out on the front deck, took a picture of the field I needed.
Okay.
and I don't think it was about being full or used. It was, I think at least Chad Riley at one time said that they would charge people
Yeah,
to
I've
use
heard that
it
too.
if they're not in our rec program.
Yeah, I think there is some merit to that.
So, I think that's what she's talking about, though. Right, or not?
Yes, and then I've heard I've also heard that not only, that's fine because there can be a fee, but as long as, I just don't wanna make it, if we decide to go this way, impossible for them to still
Right.
represent Lennox and, cause I think
No,
that's.
and honestly, I kind of look at it almost as like the Legion baseball. I mean, that's what I would hope it would kind of almost look like is, they're not necessarily a rec team, but they're Lennox baseball.
100%.
Still the proceeds of their gains for concession stands come to the rec program, that kind of thing, so.
I see it as like exactly like you said, like
Right.
Legion ball, for sure.
Is there, and this is probably a stretch, but is there a chance that we could lose those kids at some point, for the junior Legion and the Legion by kind of having them go, it's just,
No, yeah.
I'm not really sure, it's just.
I don't think so, but, especially with high school baseball and things, I think
Right.
those kids, that's.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what those rules are either.
I don't know either.
Like if a kid from Lennox can go play for a different post, I don't know if that's.
They cannot.
They have to
They
get
gotta get
signed
a
off.
release, and it's a big pay.
From the local.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So like if a Lennox kid wanted to go play for whatever Harrisburg or something, he would have to get a release, and then it's almost a league thing. Has to all be like, okay, he can go play there.
Okay.
There has to be a specific reasoning, and now if your town does not have a team, then it's a little more open to whatever you want to say.
I was gonna actually kind of look into it and I didn't have a chance. It was on my other sheet, but did we look and see like what Canton and T, do they do this? Do they do something similar to what Ike's proposal is in their rec programs?
Yeah, a little bit anyways. It depends on what town. Like T does not. T does ages. So like they do a 14 team and a 13 team. And the 14U team is what they would consider a little bit, there's just the kids are older and a little more competitive. and they do pretty well. The third team gets their butts kicked all the time, and then they know, well, they're going to be on that older team next, so that helps them a little bit there. Canton has just one team, so they don't have enough for two. Beersford has one team. I'm trying to think. Harrisburg has a bunch of teams, but again, they rank theirs up. They have like an A, B, C level. They got so many kids. I suppose
I feel like the discussion was that the teams that we played, there was a lot. I can't think of some.
Dakota Valley does what we're kind of talking about.
Vermilion does.
Vermilion does.
They started at like age 10.
Right.
Which I don't think that's necessary.
So they do a tryout for a specific team only. They don't have to play rec and that team. They just play one ball. They're on one team.
Correct.
Essentially, they're on both.
Did Canton, I'm thinking that they didn't have a team last year.
This last year, no, they didn't
Okay.
have. You're right. Yep.
Okay.
But
I didn't know
he said
that
in
maybe
the past, they've always
in the
just had
past.
the one team.
Yes.
And so they never really had tryouts or anything. But yeah, this year they did
They
not.
didn't even have enough kids to allow.
How many 14 teams did we have?
We had 3 this year.
And who did they play?
They play kind of the south, so they play like Beersford, that direction, Vermilion, Dakota Valley, Elk Point, they're not necessarily a league, they're just kind of a group of that
Different rec programs that.
correct that kind of get together and right.
And we got beat a lot.
So it's up to it's on the coaches to call and make these schedules with these teams.
They have a big coaches meeting and then they get together and basically I said, you just can't do Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays because of amateur ball, the rest's going bananas.
And then Ike's wanting a team that just goes to independent tournaments. Is that what they're doing?
Well, they would play in the same, but then they would be playing together all year, so, just positions and things like that could, be a little more figured out.
So they would be their own team still as a tournament team, he's saying, but then.
And a rec team.
And a rec, correct.
A rec team, it's just the same group of kids instead of
Correct.
splitting them back and forth.
Correct. And because, like you said, it's hard to, sort of, to practice for the tournament team, you would have to get another time other than your normal time, and, so kids that were practicing on, it was just hard to coordinate with, 4 kids for every 3 teams.
After 14 teams, I just remember when I was in high school, we had Legion, then we had BFW, but the equivalent of BFW is Junior Legion here, is that correct? And that's 16U basically?
Yep, 15 on up to 18. So 15 to 18 would be Junior Legion, and then there's Legion.
Okay.
I don't know. At 14U, I don't disagree.
It's tough.
I
Competitiveness in you wants to
I
say,
think you let him
it's
do
just
it.
so tough.
I mean, my kid he's right there, and he could go either way. He could be
Right,
on
yeah.
a non-competitive team. I don't know where he's gonna land, but I know those kids, and I just think.
And there's
I
some
know they
dang
have
good
so much,
baseball
they
players.
have so much to offer, and I just think that I would
think
like
one of
to
the
see them be able to do that at this age.
I guess we don't want those kids to quit when they're 14 because they're
Right.
frustrated.
Yeah.
We want the competitive kids that have that outlet.
Right.
I mean, Griffin even said, he's like, oh, I would wanna play rec ball, he would be fine even not playing with those kids, just to play.
Right.
And I know that it's hard because, people feel that their kids are getting slighted if they don't make the tournament team. And I understand that too, but it's just, some kids are better than others. And at 14, you've kind of developed
Right.
into the baseball player or the whatever that you are. I don't know.
Is there a risk of losing enough kids that don't make the team that they can fall out there?
That they just want to play. Yeah.
Because you're saying we get green right now when you have it split evenly. Now you have 2 teams that are going to be even worse than
Right.
today.
And that's.
Maybe some of them just don't play the same teams. Like
Right.
like the tournament or the one group maybe plays Dakota Valley and those, and then the other one. I don't know who they would play, but
Right.
You want them to have fun and not get beat.
Right.
So the reason we have them play tournament team and on a separate rec team and not be the same team is to check, I'm asking the question, is to check the box of like, okay, now we're still a rec program.
And to keep it fair, as the rec program, to keep it fair.
Because we try to split those kids by, you know, okay, like 3 best, split them up, and then the second, you know, is that nice?
So it tries to like,
Even those
I
kids
guess,
out.
yeah, okay.
Correct. And that's what we do in 12U and 10, and all of the rec teams we play in the Prairie Grass League, they do that 12U, but 14U is not a Prairie Grass League, it's not a rec league, it's a, yeah. And
Oh, so
we're one of
that's
the
kind of a
only,
big difference there too.
right, we're one of the only rec 14U programs that really plays in that league. So, I don't know, I agree with all of you guys in saying that it's like, I see both sides.
It's
And
like,
I,
but there's a lot of
fear is that they're gonna be like, well, we didn't make the tournament team, let's just not go out.
So as, my oldest is, I'm new to all of this with my oldest, but like even at the 10U age, they start to, the competitive kids get frustrated, the non-competitive kids get frustrated, so I can't imagine at the 14U level.
Right.
Now, do I have 10U and 12U? Like, yes, it needs to be rec, but I just think, like, just seeing how it was in the 10U, I'm like, I can't,
Starts to
it
escalate.
seems like it's not fair.
I think that's a big difference in there too, that it's not in Prairie Grass League, is what you called it.
Correct.
So that's like a whole, everything's kind of different once you get to that level. So would it be that bad of a deal to adjust it to make it this different too? That's the,
Right. And I don't know if we need to have more conversation, you know, with some of the, like, Johnny Mike and those, you know, that have done that Legion Ball stuff, or in some
Well,
of the
he
baseball
can talk.
association. Right, no, and I think they would be for it. I just, I don't know. My fear is, like you said, Chad, is that kids that didn't make it when they were 13 are just gonna be like, well, never mind that. That's my fear. That we're down to one team all of a sudden, and you're, you know, I want those kids to play like you said. I don't know. Yeah.
Can we research a little bit, like, opposition of similar, is there anybody else in the same, similar state where you can almost have different schedules when they're playing different?
I don't know, yeah, if you know, you can say like, this is kind of our B team, would you bring, you know, not necessarily your, I don't know, I don't know if the coaches could have that conversation to do something like that, or, you know, where we play their young, you know, that's whatever you wanna call it, B team would play their younger group kids or something like that, I don't know. You're pretty quiet here.
I don't need.
So what do we do?
Well, what are like the T's and the Harrisburgs of the world doing?
And that's what we took. So T splits theirs 13-year-olds, 14.
And we're playing those guys?
Correct.
Okay.
So their 14-year-old team destroys us. Then the 13-year-old team we can play pretty well with. Harrisburg does A, B, C down the line there.
How do they fund their teams?
Theirs is all an association, I believe. It's not a rec. And that's,
same ones that built their football field probably.
yeah, I don't know.
Just throw it out.
But like Beersford is just a, you know, it's through the city. They just don't call it rec baseball or whatever. Dakota Valley, I think, is the same way. Yeah, I don't know. I will say we are one of the only towns of that size that have 3 teams, and I mean we have a good group of, you know, baseball interested kids. In that, you know, because like Canton couldn't even have 1 team, you know, and we got 3, so I don't want it to go to, now we just got 1.
I wish we could have had this, that brought before our poll, our survey for how,
Right.
is that coming, that's already been out, right?
Yeah, it's already out.
Yeah, that's been out.
I think it's
Yeah,
cool.
cause then we
Yeah.
could pool them on that and then look at data.
Right.
That we bring in from that, and I was just reading through the mission statement sportsmanship, competition, and teamwork. So this would, I don't know. And my idea is like, they brought up funding, so you have it community funded, like obviously through Parks and Rec program. If the community wants this for their 14U, what's your thoughts at all, Nate? I'm curious. Be quiet.
I don't think the city should be funding competitive baseball. Simply because it excludes others. And I just think that's in conflict with the mission statement.
So it
But
should
that's my
Well, then
opinion.
are we
It's the
comfortable-
board's positions.
Are we comfortable just doing a rec league and then anyone wants to leave, they can, and they can, I mean, cause I'd be uncomfortable saying, yeah, you guys can leave, but you have to pay money to rent our field then. And even though they live here, they're paying taxes, they're paying that.
And right now, there's
So
no,
I'd be comfortable with saying that. If we don't wanna deal with
Yeah.
it, say you guys can have your own team, you're with us, you can practice and use our field, I'm fine with that. But I don't see how we couldn't change something with what's going on at the 14U.
Well, I think we already stepped into that puddle of competition when we have tournament team tryouts. You know what I mean? That's where I see what you're saying, Nate, but I think we've already
that ship sailed.
we've already got our boots muddy, so now it's like,
Right.
alright, we're already competing and we're already doing tryouts teams.
Right.
Like when I came into town, I was kind of surprised, I'm like, Parks and Rec, a tryout team? Like, that's good. To me, I'm competitive, so I was like, that's kind of cool. But from a Parks and Rec standpoint, it's a little different.
No, yeah, and I would say, yeah, we've opened it up to that, and like Steve said, I don't know if we want to not push them out, but suggest that they just do it themselves, I don't know. That opens.
And I'm not saying that in a mean way, I'm just,
No, I
think they'd be open to that
but
probably.
then my fear is, well, why not 12 you
It's
kids?
gonna happen.
Why not 10 you kids?
Right.
Why not go
100%
back to
gonna
softball?
And that's where you get
And
to
that's
where
where
it's,
that big old can of worms is
I
open,
think-
and it's
But that's why I think it's probably better under the umbrella of Parks and Rec, even though it doesn't probably fit it exactly.
I definitely don't think they should be charged for field time. I mean, I don't know,
Right.
but
Yeah, right now,
Because
there's
they
nothing
are-
in place for that.
they're here.
If we were to do something, I think we'd look at something similar what the school district does, where if it's a certain percentage of district kids that are going to be using the facility, then there's no charge for the use, something like
Yeah,
that.
because you don't get charged to use the gym for.
Right.
can you reserve picnic shelters?
Yeah.
You don't get charged for those, do you? Right, so if you have like.
Not yet.
Family reunion. How would my family reunion in town?
just don't schedule it. We just have it all show up.
Weird. I just think it's similar to that. Like people put money and taxes into the city, this is a city program, so those are city kids. I don't know. I would have a hard time charging, or even suggesting to charge.
I think it would hurt us to not, because I 100% think there would be 10, 12 kids that did the exact same thing.
So that's the
And then we're gonna
question,
lose
is-
all this registration fee.
So the cutoff thing I see with that you could put in that, what league did you say, 10U? Sorry again.
Prairie
Prairie
grass.
grass.
And the prairie grass, where 14 we don't have a prairie grass league, so that is a substitute for that. So it's kind of another.
Right. And
Everything below that's prairie grass league, and we don't do tournament teams for there, but we do here because this is not.
Right. And I even think in the prairie grass, it says something in like their mission statement in their league that it has to be a rec, type thing. Like it can't be a competitive whatever team.
Oh,
Like it has to be,
Sure.
split as even as they can
Yeah.
get them, obviously. So
So if if we say, hey, they can use our facilities, but we're not gonna have this team, are we gonna have a tournament team? That's the other question. So if they're gonna pull kids and set up, they say, okay, we're gonna start our own stuff up, as long as we can use it in and tie in time, probably play the same teams. Essentially, they're gonna have it without it being part of Lennox Park and Rec. Could just be Lennox, whatever, I don't know, whatever they want to call it. Mr. Ike's team. Right, so, I mean, then we have our tryouts, that's the question, so you'd be still run a tournament team as well.
For that age group, right, I don't know.
Until parents are like, well, I can see it from a parent side point where I'm like, all right, I want my kids to do a tournament team if they're good, or try out, et cetera. If they make that team, well, now they can run 2 practices of 2 different teams. I definitely see that.
Del Rapids were going through that too. Like I've got a 12-year-old, and there was a group of them that started their own traveling team. I think they played in Sioux Falls a lot, and those kids just didn't play in the rec league, and so we still had 2 or 3 teams of rec league kids. And mine was one of them. And I guess I was really appreciative that the program was still there for them, you know. Even though these other kids got to go play, you know, more competitive baseball. My kid who's maybe not as competitive, now he's with a group of kids, and now he can kind of shine a little more.
Oh, right, for sure.
So there's that side too, you know.
Right.
But like I said, it's 12-year-old, you know, that does happen, and it'll happen everywhere. I mean, everybody will take those kids, and
For sure.
and that's good for those kids too.
I think it's finding teams that other team, 14U kids could play
And still,
and shine.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and try to, and be a little competitive, and and maybe that's
Because that's not the end all be all, you know, because you still have junior legion, you know what I mean? And if you can be on I'm gonna call it the B team, and you can improve,
right, and then,
You know,
Yeah.
it's not the end when you don't get on that tournament team. There's time,
and that's,
you know,
well,
and
I
I
mean,
just,
a 13-year-old is, 1 year on the big field is a big difference.
right,
So, maybe you didn't make it when you're 13, but you do when you're 14. I don't know.
yes.
But maybe we can table this until next month when Nate's not here, and then make it.
I think that it's gonna be the same every meeting, because it
No,
just,
and
everybody
it
kind of
is.
feels like,
It's the
We
double-edged
should
sword
talk
for,
about it
for,
We have,
Right. For a long time. I know, I didn't. You guys gotta make that choice.
I do like Mitch's input on that, I think, I don't know.
And my kid, they lost every game this summer. That team, every game they got.
Did they have a good time?
Oh, they loved it.
that's what matters.
My
That's what
boys
matters.
like, so you think you want to play next year? Oh, yeah. He's still won, so it's good.
Yeah,
Like I said, it's not always fun for either kid to be, like if you're really good and you're throwing to somebody who can't catch, or if you're the person who can't catch, then your confidence is that now you have no confidence.
100%, yeah.
For sure.
I don't know,
My
I
goal
think
is to let them do it, that's my goal.
Let them play under the Park and Rec.
14.
14, yeah. Me too.
I agree.
So anybody want to make a motion to vote on?
I make a motion to vote on allowing the 14U baseball program to have the tryout team be one team and not also.
You don't have to play
Separate.
tournament and rec. Right.
Well, they're still playing rec. They're
They-
still
correct.
playing tournament and rec, but they get to be the same team from start to finish. They don't have a tournament team and then on a separate rec team. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Alright,
Thank you guys for that discussion.
now let's forward.
It's a tough choice. Then softball, I think that's just on there for my memory, basically, so that when it gets to that time and things. that we can make sure and find that. So, and you know, we have the policies here. I was trying to think what number it was. Do you remember, Nate? The team creation.
I think it's chapter 7.
Is it? Is it 7-3? Anyways, it says in here.
My apologies, the highlights are still on there. Those are changes that were made.
Right.
Oh, shoot, I missed it. No, it's 7-3, 14 U. AU softball?
Yeah. But that just, it was, oh, now I can't find it.
7-4.
And that's talking about softball, but I was talking about the team creation.
Oh, okay.
No, you're fine. I misspoke there. Team selection, 6-3 it is. Sorry, excuse me.
So close.
I was close. It's, you know, there's what it says now. Parks and Rec program teams shall be rostered by the Parks and Rec manager and consult with coaches. You know, and then it kind of just, yeah.
Again, because it hasn't been here the few times we've talked about it,
And that's, I feel like, so, and maybe.
We've got time, don't we?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Those aren't made until May. So, I mean,
So-
we have time, so.
they do it by age. Again, I only know what I know from my kids.
And now, we did not this last year, because in there it said randomly, so I did not know that, so I just made
Oh,
them.
because I was gonna say.
Yeah,
that
it's
they
an
should-
age group.
Well, yeah, but they're 8U and 7 and 8Us, and I
In the
just
past, it's gone
basically.
the oldest 10, the
Correct.
next oldest, then the next.
Correct.
That's how it was in the past.
And now it's random.
But
And
the
that-
team-
no, I did it
Well,
random.
it was last year, but
Okay.
it
Team-
wasn't
this year's
necessarily
very
supposed,
even.
according to the
With
coaches.
age like that.
Oh.
No, you don't.
I did not have a kid in my
I knew there was some
T-ball.
coaches that talked to me about
I
it, were frustrated.
heard from people that they loved it, like you
Because
said,
they did.
and people said, why isn't it by the age? Now my kid's not with their same team or their friend.
Now my kid's not with their friends.
And that's I agree, trust me,
I think it went
I
great.
had many conversations.
I
Now,
think
we had-
random is better.
I think random was good. If you even called me and said, hey, is it okay if I move a little up? I'd say yes. And for
Well, no,
March,
and
can't
all
play-
those kids that were on that borderline,
Yeah.
I called each parent and asked them, and some chose to stay down because their kid just wasn't very, at that level yet, and didn't, like, especially versus coach pitch and kid pitch. There was a lot that were like, no, we don't want to go there yet. And they chose down, and there's some that were like, yeah, they would want to be. Why wouldn't you put the third graders with the third graders? I mean, who cares if their birthday is January 2nd instead of December 31st?
I'm kind of like, wherever you need him to be, and he'll figure it out,
Right.
In the first couple practices, from my experience, Lily was like, I don't know hardly any of these girls. I'm like, just, you'll get to know them. It'll be fun. By the end of the season, I mean, she was ecstatic going out every practice, everything. Like, it just got her out of her normal clique comfort zone, the way they get their groups, And I thought that was really good.
And I think even being the teacher in the 5th and 6th grade, you could see a lot of those girls that were on the same, especially right at the beginning, they're like, hey, from softball, and like, right there's their, like, connection, versus only
And I think that having a mix like that with you got some older gals and then mixed in with the youngers. Like my daughter, she stepped in like experience. A lot of them, I would say half the team stepped up in experience. Even the experienced ones, they like benefited. It wasn't like it hurt them because they had these other girls that were working on their skills. So I think.
and again, maybe that's
And maybe I know Clint, he's like kind of our softball expert.
correct.
So
And that's the concessions there, the total registration, we can do that probably next time. It's not quite perfect by any means, but the sports engine and I are working on it anyway. So
And what did you decide to do?
so once
Do
you
you have to
register,
coach or pick a date
coach
for
or concessions. If you click coach, you're just good to go. Concessions, it pops up with weeks that you would sign up for, and and then you have to pick your week there. Or whatever.
Yes, great.
And I'm working on the directions or like the explanation of it, that it's not, you're not working that whole week, you're gonna work
Oh, so
one
you don't get
2
one
hour
Sunday.
time slot during that week. Is it like not 4 days that week? So I'm working on
You might are volunteers who in the past have worked at it.
and that's what I want to get away. I'm I'm sure it's not going to be perfect.
That's what we're trying to get away from.
Correct. And then the rest is just kind of notes for myself / things that need to be done here in the, not necessarily the near future, but like if we want to use swimming or sports engine for swimming lessons and sign up and stuff like that for pool, I just got to get that information.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And is Bridget and Lennox doing the pool again? Or do we know that? Okay. My understanding from talking to Bridget at school is yes. So I mean, I think so.
I heard a guy named Steve was gonna marry.
That is not true. That guy named Steve will not be doing
I
that.
think that would be really
No, yeah.
good
So
thing.
you-
Not you doing the pool.
No, the sports engine makes perfect sense. I mean, that you can get your pool pass instantly, and I don't know, swimming lessons, if we could figure out time slots and stuff. I'll talk with.
I've heard a lot of people I talked to a few people about putting them on there and swimming lessons on there.
Right.
A lot of people would like that because most time they're trying to make their schedule work to get over here and sign up or email whoever. And if this is all there and they already are used to signing up.
Right.
But
Doesn't make sense in today's world to
Right.
not have one like
Does
that.
sports engine allow that where only so many people can select one date range?
Yes.
Is that what you're
Yep.
working
Yep.
on with them?
That's what I'm working. That's the same thing for the concessions. Like I think I said at the limit at, I think it was 10, because baseball and softball. So really, there'll be 20 families that sign up for that week. And we should be able to make that work pretty easy. I hope, anyways. So yeah, they can put a limit.
So will swimming lessons, is that planned to drop with in January with this registration?
This one, the pool will not. It'll probably it takes them about a month or two to get it perfect by any means. So it would probably be more around that. Right.
I would say put a date. Can you put it in the paper or post it or somewhere or?
We can get
Like,
something.
yeah.
Just something out there so people know, hey,
Right.
here's your Black Friday date for the pool, so sign up here.
It's going live at midnight.
A lot of people purchase pool passes as Christmas presents.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
and I know.
and I can put them
like
in
the
this.
little tables. I already purchased 2
Okay.
passes to put on that raffle or whatever. So
Right.
we'll figure all that
Oh,
out.
yeah.
But I think just make
I
sure
think
we
for the-
involve Dawn and
correct.
Julie in
For the general.
that process.
Right.
Could be on our way.
And I'll talk with Dawn, Julie, and Bridget to get those figured out. So. Otherwise, that's all I have. That was a lot.
I thought last week was a lot.
Oh, amen.
Alright, awesome. And now Mitch is here to talk about our park master plan. I believe.
Okay. Well, last time I was here, we reviewed the trail master plan that we put together, just the map that we had been working on. And we talked a little bit, I've been talking to Nate this more recently about trying to help you folks with maybe there's a desire to put together kind of a park master plan just throughout town and have more of a comprehensive document. Because you don't really have anything that I know of in place right now. You do have a comprehensive plan that has a chapter on your park system, but there's really not much to speak of in there.
No, parks are good and we want them as you sound like a comprehensive plan and stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't give a whole lot of direction on to where or access to.
Yeah. So as staff, when we start seeing like things like the countryside development, we want to have some policy in place so that we know we can help guide that developer towards engaging park system, engaging recreation system. Even when we're doing street projects, like when we're doing Boynton right now, we're building in that path on the north side just because that's part of the comprehensive plan. How you program the parks, where you do baseball, obviously you're going to be just dependent on where the facilities are, but soccer, if that's something that you guys are doing down here, maybe there's places that you need to identify where those can be put, or places in the future that those things can be put. Volleyball, I know there's not is there volleyball down in the park right now?
Soon. Yep, just need the same.
And tennis and all these different programs, and sometimes you find, especially in small towns, they just kind of just put here and put there and wherever they can find space for them. I think there was an ice skate rink once upon a time too. That's when we got repurposed too. So the idea would be is to help to bring our team of landscape architects and park people to help you just look at your current facilities, look at recommendations to help improve those facilities, put in some guidelines into your comp plan that really talk about those policy things about how you want your park system to look and act a little bit. So that's really, I've been working with Nate to just kind of figure out what that looked like a little bit. I keep coming back to your comprehensive plan. I just want to take that chapter, that comprehensive plan, and rewrite it and build that out and have some maps in there that really just help identify maybe some of maybe your deficiencies that maybe you had. And I'm sure there's thoughts out there of how to do things and stuff, and maybe our team can just help bring some professional knowledge to that sector too. So I did develop a proposal, and I put a number in there, not realizing what your guys' budget was for the year.
You would have bumped that up.
I'm chewing up a lot of your budget, but it's a $30,000 fee for our people to come through. But I wanted to walk through it with you.
I would say don't let the price tag make this a determining factor. I mean, this is a chapter of the comprehensive plan, and it's something that we're going to be rewriting anyway. And that's something that we can figure out.
So if you just open up to the second page, is the scope of basic services. And our team, what we would typically do in a project like this is we'd come on, we're already familiar with the facility. In fact, we've done some inventorying in the past. So we know about Evergreen Park and Western Park down here in the T-ball field and a lot of those facilities that you have. But we just would come through, inventory those, know any deficiencies that we see in any of the programs that are out there. One thing I kind of want to zero in is just ADA accessibility. That's something that we can really help you guys understand where you might have some deficiencies in those, in that ADA accessibility aspect. The 1.4.6, just reviewing spatial interconnectivity and destinations throughout the community. We like to look at the community as a whole. Know where all the schools are, know where all the places of destinations are, and making sure that we've kind of done with the rec trail plan already, just identifying those major routes, but also just looking at how, if there's any impediments to accessing these facilities that we can improve. So you see some graphics on the right of just little things, little projects that we've done in the past. That happens to actually be Falls Park. We just worked on a design competition for that project. And so the lower graphic is just an example of how we like to identify the housing areas versus commercial districts. And I think this even plays into downtown, making sure that we got downtown connected to your recreational facilities too. So just identifying some of those things and putting that on the map. The second page is or third page is our phase 2 plan program. We were at the vision meeting these last couple, we had 2 listening sessions, vision planning of some sort, I can't remember what they titled that, but dog park got brought up a lot out there. So we've actually designed 2 of the dog parks that are in Sioux Falls. We did the first one in Spencer Park and we did Family Park out there, so we've got good experience with those facilities as well. So I think that'd be something that we'd look for and try to identify maybe a location for something like that if there's a desire for that. We talked a little bit in the past, just that area around Jerry's auto body shop there, just that drainage area, maybe there's an opportunity there to be able to acquire that drainage area for the city to hopefully improve the drainage in the area and maybe making it to an accent with the recreation program. Maybe it's a native trail or something like that. So different things like that is what we would explore and look at different opportunities for the community. From there, we basically generated a report, and it looked kind of similar to that lower graphic there, where we would identify different areas where we could have where you have park facilities, the programs that are in those facilities. One thing I think of is your T-ball field. I think that T-ball field gets really small there, so I don't know if there's a desire to try to relocate that anyway. I think of the old football field, know, I'm not sure how you guys are programming that right now, but there's space down there that maybe could be better utilized for whatever it might be. We can help you just maybe understand how you could use those spaces. So there's a lot of thoughts out there, and we talked about demoing the water plant. Maybe that becomes an empty lot that could be coming in the park system. So there's a lot of things out there that we've been thinking about as staff. That I think the goal here would just to be get some of those ideas on paper, and have this comprehensive plan on hand.
Is this kind of what you showed us from Spencer? Did you show us Spencer?
Yes, Spencer was that's
I think
a whole other level.
Yeah.
But it's similar to that. This is probably a step down from Spencer, just in the sense of the graphics that we put together for them, because that was a big project for us, and that was a lot bigger feat. So a lot more effort on our part. You'll see, the next level, once you have this programming graphic kind of established, some of the next levels you might go to is what they call master planning, those park spaces where they actually do a rendering of that dog park that might go somewhere, with people walking around and this and that, and we do a lot of that stuff too, but that's where it gets to be a lot of effort on our part, and starts to just get expensive to put all that type of stuff together. So this is a more basic, I guess I'd call it, proposal at this point.
So this is like, it's just like a one-time, like, here's the fee for this, the estimated fee, and then all that stuff is created off that?
Yep.
Or is there a yearly to like upkeep and like,
I
obviously you have this graphic.
Yeah, if we were to update it at some point.
I think you come back to it every 5 years or so. If you look at it and you still feel like it's a good plan, that you're still
Working.
trying to pick off different things on it, then you might not make an update at that time. But if you look at it 5 years down the road and you accomplish some of the goals in there, then maybe you look at looking at it again. I'd say every 5 years is typical to kind of go back and revisit. A lot of the inventory stuff and a lot of the policy writing, once that's established, that probably doesn't change too much down the road. I think last time I was here, just one policy in general is just, I think, to me, one thing we should consider as a board, I think, would be you want to park within a quarter mile of every lot of residence, because that's what studies have shown people are willing to walk, right, to their park system. So, and when we put that map together, we found that we had some areas that are deficient, but that to me should be just one part of the criteria of your guys' policy with your rec program, is that you want walkability. So those are the types of things that we read into that policy document.
As far as a budget standpoint, Nate, like this, the way he presented this stuff, it almost seems to me that it's not necessarily just a Parks and Rec. It's also like I don't know. It has more.
It's a plan.
It hits a lot more areas of the city, because you'll see businesses and development will actually, they can come look at this and go, okay, we have this here, this here, this here. Hey, let's be close to this stuff because people will be walking by here, and we can put shops or whatnot. Yeah, it kind of ties into development and stuff too.
It is an hourly contract, so if we don't spend, it doesn't take us as many hours as we think to finish this. You'd see that, a savings there. So if there's any questions, I guess, from
So do you start with this and then kind of, once we would say, okay, not necessarily us, but someone says, okay, we want to go further, we want to do this one, that's when you would go and do like the renderings and stuff, or not necessarily?
Yes, if you said that you wanted to really dial into, whatever part of it is, and just what that could look like graphically, and we can do a lot of different stuff there. And we can do, looking down on it, just nice picture renderings. Those are kind of the easiest ones to do, all the way to just full 3D models and graphics that way, which is kind of that third tier, I guess I'd call it. I think when we walk through this, our team will come meet with you guys once and help write that criteria and what do we want these policies to look like, so then we can take that back and then start looking at how your park system is laid out currently and where those deficiencies are based on these policies that we kind of
That would then, I guess since it is comprehensive plan, we'd involve planning commission as well. If there's anything comprehensive plan really needs to go that direction too, so. There'll be a multiple step process if, you know, the park board says, yes, we should explore this, and we take to the planning commission, so on and so forth. So.
I think it would be huge for our park development in Lennox. It's like we're growing, getting bigger. There's a huge need to have like the professional guys lay it out and say, hey, make it easy. I mean, rather than like get too farther down the road and we have more developed and like, then you're almost too, you got more work to do.
For sure.
So,
I would say it'll help future developers too. I mean, just see, you know, what the plan's supposed to look like. And so,
yeah, for sure. So, do we want to make a motion to recommend the city council look into this? Or are we, what should we do there? Because obviously it lies with them, and then you say the planning commission. So
Yeah, planning
if we think that they
commission.
should go forward with it into looking for these services.
Why don't I take a look at what we do for a possible budget, how we pay for it, and we can have that back in the next meeting, and
Okay.
based on
Because
that.
I think you'd have to, like I said, I think it hits a couple areas,
It does.
so that would spread that out a little
Yep.
bit, and not just hit Parks and Rec.
There's probably 5 or 6
Yeah.
different budget line items that this will hit, so. Which my finance team will be thrilled with. But, it is what it is.
I think it makes it for one, it like spreads it out a little bit, but to be honest, like that, having that big plan and you could use it for 5 to 6 years for development of the community, that, I know different dollars are different to everybody, but it seems like a pretty good deal to me.
This could be a piece of our economic development.
Quality, yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
I mean, it's gonna play.
It's a huge part of the quality of life stuff.
right.
yeah, for sure.
When I think about it, the comp plan is made up of, I mean, it is everything. We've already done, like we do the sewer comprehensive plan, that's out there. There's a water comprehensive plan. There's a storm drainage comprehensive plan. So this just.
It's all very
builds
comprehensive.
that side. Yeah, that builds that side of it, so. And it's not uncommon for small towns to not have.
Don't get like buy 4, get 5.
Yeah.
Is there a comprehensive fee?
11% back.
No, when you talked about parks, you know, we had talked about like stocking that place with fish, you know?
Yeah.
But like, kind of thinking about older kids, not just the young kids with the swing sets and the
Right.
slides and whatnot, but like, think of, because there's really not anything to do around
Right.
here.
Right.
If you're a little bit older,
Right,
you know,
yep.
so, I don't know.
And that's, that
Something
our
to
team
think about.
has a ton of experience with different, they call them programs, you know,
Yeah.
just, frisbee golf, you know, that's probably maybe for that little bit middle school, and a little bit above maybe
Yeah.
age. That's not as popular as it used to be, but there's a ton of stuff like that that, you could sure consider. And I think too, like I said, countryside, with the area that they're dedicating up there, I mean, there's space up there that you guys haven't even probably thought about. How
Does
to
it have a
utilize
hill?
yet. What's that?
Does it have a hill? Because I'd love a sliding hill. It's like there's no hill.
I got an acre line plan on the park.
Non-million injuries is soccer.
I know. Our clinic would be busy.
Right.
Awesome.
So we went over the walking paths, and there was talk at one time about over on Highway 44, going over that bridge. But
Yeah.
did we get that? Did someone get the funding for that? I
So
thought I saw
we're
that.
going over the bridge on Cleveland Avenue. We're doing a cost share with Lincoln County. So where you turn off of 44 to go north of Cleveland,
Okay.
there's that small bridge there. That's on next year's replacement schedule with Lincoln County. We're cost sharing with them to make it wider so that when our trail does go through, we've got that done.
Okay, so it'll be really close then.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I saw.
In the
something.
meantime, the likelihood of hitting some kid's bike goes down.
Yep.
Because
Okay.
other place put it.
I thought I saw that or heard it somewhere, but I don't.
We tried years ago, and the funding programs that are out there didn't like that we were just ending the trail, because we were trying to get across the bridge and then didn't plan after that, you know, so they didn't like that, it just stopped, so they made us stop for that. We did apply for Boynton, you know, and we're waiting to hear back on that, so that's been the latest, submittal that we've made. And so, you know, with Boynton getting done this year, and you have to start thinking about next year, you know, what you want to apply for, if you want to try again for something.
So that's like a yearly thing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Our last one would have been 17? 18 last time we got funding.
Yeah, because I mean, I think that bridge is probably the next thing to look at.
Yep.
Absolutely. The one over Longtree now, because with Boynton done, I mean, and now you got that big circle around there, I just think that'd be the next place it goes now, trying to get across there and start going up Cleveland. Cleveland's a tough one to pull off because it's an unimproved road section and there's not a lot of right of way in that ditch.
Yeah,
It's super tight. I mean, really to get something built along, you're probably looking at building the whole road out, and or buying property from the neighbor there to be able to build it. So that one would be
this is a
challenging.
stressful area though to have kids on bikes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's not bad.
I do think we need to look at lowering that speed limit. Or requesting to lower the speed limit, from the county.
I don't even know what the speed limit is
45.
over there.
45 south.
Yeah, and they fly on it. If you're on that bridge, it feels super dangerous.
Yeah.
And then it's kids
The
fishing.
neon vest isn't gonna quite cut it.
There's kids fishing out there sometimes.
Oh yeah.
So,
Lots.
Yeah. They don't really catch anything, but they get to cast.
Awesome.
okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you guys.
Sorry I had to sit through the whole thing.
Yeah, you had input though, that was good.
Give me your ski talk.
That's why we all come on Sunday. We didn't talk about though that the power lines have been moved.
Oh yeah,
Yes, I did see that.
At
Oh, the power bill.
Yeah, that's huge.
I think power's back on. 'Cause
Yeah, that had to
I
be
stopped
like a
taking texts.
7-day project.
I know.
Because I kept driving by like they're
Yes.
not done yet, and then all of a sudden, yeah, they are.
Yeah, they did them. Packed all their stuff up down by the high school, left town all 3 days.
Yeah, we had looked and then I forget and Chris was like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
I was expecting there'd be like
Yes.
machinery out there and stuff.
It didn't take them very long.
No.
That
So
drive
that
by
was
their
exciting.
daycare every day. I just bring the bad news.
I know, I'm here to bring positivity.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you.
So Nate, you're gonna check on the budget stuff and then
Yeah.
you'll come back and you can make a recommendation, yes or no, or to the council on that?
My recommendation would, to the park board will be, this is how I would, if we were to do this is how I would split up the funding. And then if you would say, yeah, that makes sense to us, then I'd take it to the planning commission, make sure it's good with them, because we'll be changing the comprehensive plan anyway. It's been 2 years now, since we wrote that plan, and I think it's time to get it updated. There's some stuff in there that population-wise has changed significantly from that last one that we need to take into account, so. Okay.
Cool, that's really awesome. All right,
Ready?
motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Well, Steve, you're just talking.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Meeting adjourned.
So I won't be here next month because I have a work trip, so somebody else is gonna have to take some good notes.
YouTubers.
Somebody else can't show up.
We can
Hey, this is
FaceTime.
a team, actually I might be able to call by phone,
There you go.
depending
It's
on
hard to
the,
hear.
what?
I think it's hard to hear when you call in.
Yeah, thank you last month for making that work.